Good afternoon. It's April 7th, 2016, and we are in the 8th floor of the municipal building, set to convene the annual or semi-annual Proxy Committee meeting of the Police Pension Fund. So at this time, I'd like to ask the folks around the table to introduce themselves for the record. We'll start.
Phil Dukes, by invitation from Mayor's Office of Pensions and Investments.
John Adler, representing Miracle Deposio.
Joe Alejandro, designee for Patrick Lynch, John Puglisi, Mubarak Abdul-Jabbar, and I have the proxy for Joe Leo.
John Dorsa, designee for Controller Stringer.
Michael Garland, Controller's Office staff.
Mel Senbuda at Controller's Office.
Sculptors at the Controller's Office.
And one more addition, Joe Alejandro again, I have the proxy for Roy Richter.
So I'd also like to point out at this time that the Controller's Office is the convener of this meeting, but for purposes of the Proxy Committee, it does not sit as a member of the Proxy Committee, so we will leave the voting of today's meeting to the members to my left, which are the official members of the Proxy Committee for the Police Pension Fund. So at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Mike Garland, the Assistant Controller, to discuss the public session of the Proxy Committee.
Great. Thank you, John. So you have in front of you a document with a cover memo and a set of proposed corporate governance principles and proxy voting guidelines. Generally, the agenda for the spring meeting of the Proxy Committee is to review recommended changes to the proxy voting guidelines in recognition of new issues that may be emerging for the current proxy season. But as trustees know, for a number of years, we've indicated our intent to do an overhaul of the guidelines, which have been updated annually since 1987, to move from a very rules-based to a more principles-based guideline and to articulate the trustees' philosophy with respect to corporate governance. We had an ad hoc meeting in February where we reviewed in great detail, I think, a draft. We received feedback from trustees and others, and we have since made some revisions to the draft to reflect those comments. And so what we'd like to do is, if there are any questions, we can highlight any changes, review that, and approve. Scott Drazel is probably the closest to the entire document and led the effort, which our whole team participated in, to update them. But we believe that these are intended to both reflect a broad philosophy and then provide guidance for how we vote on individual items, and the intent would then be to once approved by all the systems, to post this publicly so that portfolio companies, participants and beneficiaries understand our expectations of portfolio companies and how we vote.
I have no questions at this time.
No questions at this time.
So at this time, I guess we would need a motion to approve the recommended changes to the proxy guidelines.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
So
We need a vote.
so I believe that constitutes a majority vote of this committee. And we will bring this most likely to the full board at the next available meeting to be ratified by the entire police pension board.
So the next item deals with an intent to negotiate. It was issued publicly, but I think that we would need.
Yes, so I think we would need to go into executive session to discuss a procurement matter.
A motion to exit exit public session and enter executive session to discuss a procurement matter.
Second.
Okay, so at this time, we'll turn the camera off. Okay, we're back in public session. At this time, we're going to turn it over to Mike Garland to report out what occurred in executive session.
During the executive session, we reviewed a recommendation with respect to a procurement matter. The Proxy Committee endorsed a recommendation to the full board as outlined in a memo, subject to one additional modification in the recommendation to the full board. In connection with that recommendation, we also discussed some proposed modifications to the investment policy statement, and the proxy committee endorsed a recommendation to the full board as well, and both of these recommendations will be presented for full board review and approval.
Thank you. So at this time,
Motion to adjourn.
if there's no other business, we have a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Okay, so the meeting is adjourned. Thank you.